Hello, good afternoon. It is September 2nd, 2022. I'm your host, David Dole on The Rational National. So we got some stuff to go through today. I'm look at this, 2 weeks in a row going live. I don't know. Sounds like a pattern to me. We'll see what happens next week. But oh great, losing my voice already. That's a good start. So today, I'll get to the preview. First, before anything, make sure if you're here right now, make sure you've already hit the subscribe button. You've hit the bell notification icon so you know when I go live or put a video up. And if you are so inclined, please support me on either YouTube or Patreon. Links are below the video. The join button on YouTube is below the video, but also in the description box, you'll see the Patreon link, PayPal link, Streamlabs link, lots of links there. So support the show any way you can and hit the like button. All right, cool. Now that that's out of the way, let me give you a little preview of today, and then we'll get into it. Also, I have a sort of a hard out in about an hour and a half, so got to make sure I fit all this in time. And of course, throughout the stream, I'll also take your super chats as well. Anyways, so I'm going to get to Biden's speech. That is the first story, Biden's speech, and the reaction from the right wing, which is just wonderful. And also, another aspect of Biden's speech, a certain reaction from a certain CNN host and how ridiculous that is. I'll also get to that. Also, Republicans are planning to sue to put Americans into more debt. I'll discuss what that's all about. And Dr. Oz stoops to a new low because, of course, he has nothing left. All right, so I will try to make this an upbeat stream, if possible. Already a super chat. Look at this. Look at you wonderful people. Starting the stream off right. This is from Tatted Jedi. A good name. I was just about to watch this. Yay, watching with friends. By the way, wing flats are better than drums. Fight me. I'm not going to fight you. I agree. All right, there we go. So let's get into it. And yes, lots of clips today, at least in two of the stories. The other ones don't really need them, but you'll see. The right collectively lost their minds after President Joe Biden gave a speech, one of, if not the best speech he's ever given, accurately describing the threat of fascists, the threat they pose to democracy. Nothing at all wrong with the speech, but they freaked out. So I will show you clips from Joe Biden's speech. You can judge for yourself. I'll also link to the full speech below the video. Watch the entire thing. I'll also show you the reaction from these right-wing clowns, both on Twitter and on Fox News. And I will also show you a major aspect of their hypocrisy over the use of the word fascist. So let's get started. Here are some clips from Biden's speech, which, again, I think one of his strongest speeches ever, largely because he is actually correctly identifying a threat here that, for the most part, I think has been underplayed. But here he is discussing this.
For more than 2 centuries, America has been a beacon to the world. But as I stand here tonight, equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies, empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence. We are not powerless in the face of these threats. We are not bystanders in this ongoing attack on democracy. There are far more Americans from every background and belief who reject the extreme MAGA ideology than those that accept it. Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only two outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated. And that's where the MAGA Republicans are today. I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost.
I dare you to go through that speech and find something that is untrue. The only, not even lies, but the only, way that Biden was wrong in this speech is that he was actually too kind to Republicans. But he accurately here describes the threat of rising fascism, of these crazy MAGA Republicans unwilling to accept a loss, trying to steal elections, the work that Republicans are doing right now to try and steal the next election. All of this is completely accurate. So, of course, the right wing freaked out. When you correctly call out what they are doing, when you expose them for who they are, they're going to freak out, and they did. So let's get to first the reaction on Fox News, because these people, I have to laugh because it is so batshit insane. The garbage these people spewed. And of course, a lot of focus on the color behind it, like the red wall behind him. As if that's like really the concern here, as opposed to, I don't know, the fascists trying to steal elections. But anyways, let's get to what these morons, these assholes, these fascists on Fox News were saying.
The imagery there was almost satanic with that blood red lighting and the two Marines behind him. It was just insane.
President Biden tonight gave the speech of a dictator in the style of a dictator, in the visual of a dictator, using the words of a dictator.
I actually think, Raymond, he came across as a sad, angry, kind of bitter old man here.
This was his enemies of the state speech. And like every other radical Marxist tyrant, he accused his opponents of being fascist while he engages in repressive authoritarian behavior.
This speech is easily the most disgraceful speech from a president in recent decades. It is horrifying how he is issuing a call to war against every single American who didn't vote for him.
Kind of looked like the lighting and all sort of looked like Darth Vader, it seemed to me. And understand, in the past 4 days, he has called half the country fascist and extremist.
Oh, we'll get to the comments about fascists and what the right has been saying and how they've been using that word. Meanwhile, freaking out about someone else using that word to accurately describe them. But let's go over some of the insane garbage there, right? So these, as I said, I can't help but laugh because this is completely nuts. So the first lady there, satanic lighting. Every time you see, I don't know, a red light, Christmas, you see red lights, Christmas trees. Look at that satanic lighting. If you zoomed out, there was also blue. It was the colors of the flag. It was, blue, red, white. It's nothing crazy there, but they are really freaked out by the lighting. Quote, the speech of a dictator. Ah, yes, the speech of a dictator. Because he correctly identified rising fascism in the country. A leader in Trump who is unwilling to accept his own loss continues claiming that he won the election. Yet somehow Biden's the dictator for correctly identifying the fascists. Marxist tyrant. This is my favorite one. Marxist tyrant. Marxism is a critical analysis of capitalism from the perspective of labor, from the perspective of the working class. What does that have to do at all with this speech or with Biden? It'd be great if Biden was a Marxist, more critical of capitalism, but he's not. He is definitely a capitalist. Yet he's somehow a Marxist tyrant. These people rely on the fact that you don't know what any of these things mean. They just use these words that sound scary because they always use them in a scary context to make you as afraid as possible. But because they know how unintelligent, unaware, uneducated their audience is. So they can use these words like Marxist, communist, tyrant, whatever. They can use all this terminology to scare people because their followers don't actually know what any of those things are. Quote, the most disgraceful speech from a president in decades. Donald Trump. Do I have to say anything else? Come on. They know, they have to know they're full of shit. Quote, a call to war against everyone who didn't vote for him. I showed you the clips. You can watch the full speech yourself. Biden goes above and beyond trying to claim that, most Republicans or half Republicans aren't these people, even though, at least in terms of voters and in terms of the lawmakers that still back Trump because they have to keep their seats, all of them are like this. There's maybe like one or two who are currently leaving the House, leaving Congress, that aren't, like Liz Cheney, even though she's voted with Trump 90% of the time. When it comes to the election, she acknowledges that Trump lost the election. There's like two of those. The vast majority of Republicans are these people, yet somehow, even though Biden went above and beyond, he is somehow calling for a war against everyone who didn't vote for him? How can you possibly, in any honest way, take that from his speech? Again, they know they are full of shit. Now, a couple of reactions here on Twitter as well. Ted Cruz, who is always good for a laugh, says, tonight Joe Biden vilified millions of Americans in a divisive and angry speech that was detached from the reality of his political failures. And by the way, there's a lot of accurate criticisms of Joe Biden and his actual failures, his inability to fight for his own platform, like a public option has not been mentioned once since he won, or decriminalizing cannabis, again, not touched at all. But when it comes to this speech and correctly identifying fascism and who these MAGA Republicans are, nothing at all wrong with this. But he goes on to say he isn't actually interested in restoring the soul of the nation. He's only interested in pitting his fellow Americans against one another, which is what Ted Cruz does day in, day out, and what the Republican Party does day in, day out. Another reaction here. Ben Shapiro, conservative propagandist, says that was the most demagogic, outrageous, and divisive speech I have ever seen from an American president. Again, Donald Trump. Joe Biden essentially declared all those who oppose him and his agenda enemies of the Republic. Truly shameful. Good people on both sides. Remember that? Trump calling Nazis good people? Yeah. Very divisive here. This reply is perfect. I thought I'd share this to Ben Shapiro. Trump's speeches led to this picture. Quite clear who's been demagogic, divisive, and divisive throughout their presidency. Also, this reaction here from Eric Champanella says, if you're pissed about Biden's speech, he was talking about you. Very true. Now let's get to the last clip here. So, Fox News, of course, one of the many conservative voices who freaked out about Biden in a separate speech, calling MAGA Republicans semi-fascist, which, again, Biden has to, he can't go the full way, right? Like, he can't just be accurate and say, these people are fascists. He has to be, oh, they're semi-fascists. But even in his attempt here to try and be conciliatory or kind to the right, they're still freaking out and slamming him because, again, Biden accurately describing, at least the fascist part, accurately describing who they are. But here is Fox News freaking out about this because Biden had a unity pledge. So I guess the right has never used the word fascist, right, to describe people that are definitely not fascist. Let's go to the clips.
I think they're fascists. I think they want to use the power of the state to change the rest of us.
Falsely branding a political protest as an insurrection, that is the definition of authoritarianism, of fascism.
Their tactics are fascistic. The left wants power because that is essentially their state of grace.
The blackout of information by the left is pure fascism.
Turns out there are fascists in charge.
Nancy Pelosi is fascistic.
They're using, frankly, fascist policies to silence the right.
They use cancel culture as a tool to impose their fascism on us.
Well, I won't say fascists, but yeah, fascists.
This is fascism. This is fascism of the left.
You are talking about fascism. There's no other word to describe this. This is fascism.
Yeah, of course. These people, they've been using this sort of, I mean, the way they use it, it actually is divisive because they are lying. Biden accurately describing what is happening. You had January 6th happen, people trying to steal an election. This is one side doing this. One leader, Trump, not acknowledging that he lost the race. They are being fascists, yet you have here the right claiming that somehow Democrats, who aren't even close, aren't even fighting Republicans anywhere close to how Republicans are fighting Democrats, somehow trying to mess things around, twist words around to try and claim that Democrats are fascists. Ridiculous. Anyways, Mehdi Hassan shared this series of clips saying Fox and the Republicans are losing their minds over Joe Biden, mega semi-fascist, but they never call their political opponents fascists, right? You'll be shocked. Shocked, I tell you. It really is. It's both disgusting and just hilarious in the sense that it is so obvious. It is so obvious these people are completely full of shit, yet somehow there is a portion, by the way, it's not half, but there is, maybe 30% of people that are just completely out of their minds. Really have no idea what is going on, live in a completely separate reality. They have been brainwashed by this right-wing media garbage to think that somehow they won an election that they lost. And ultimately, I've discussed this before, a lot of this goes to the psychology of people being unable to accept when things don't go right for them. So there's a portion of people that do this. They generate these narratives in their minds that help to protect basically their very fragile souls from being able to accept that they didn't win. So they pretend, they convince themselves that in fact they did win and that they are the right ones when clearly they are not. Biden here finally correctly calling this garbage out. And I hope that it isn't just a speech, that there is actually some, real moves behind this in his attempt to try and protect democracy. Okay. Fun. Always fun. Talking about how freaking crazy people are. All right, so that's that video. Let me put this one back. What the hell is going on here? Sorry, my tabs are just I have a lot of tabs open, many different windows, and sometimes it makes it hard to move things around. Okay, there we go. What's next? I guess we'll just roll right into CNN and their increasing insanity as well to try and appeal to the right wing. CNN is not good. Not good. Just getting worse. And who thought that was possible? All right. Trying to think how I start this. By the way, how do you say since I'm live, I can ask you guys this question. How do you say her name? Her last name? Is it Kyler? Brianna Kyler? Keller? Brianna Kyler. I want to say Kyler. Or is it Keeler? Brianna Keeler. I don't know. And I don't really care. But I should probably get her last name right if I'm going to and whatever. There's about like a 30-second delay in the chat, so if I don't see an answer in time that is consistent, then Keller. It's Keller. I got two different answers. Keller and Keller, Keeler, and Keelar. Three different. The first three responses are all different. Keeler, Brianna Keeler. Okay, now I'm seeing 4 Keelers in a row. Keeler, Brianna Keeler. Keeler sounds wrong though. Kyler. It's not Kyler. Keeler. I'm gonna go with Keeler. I think it sounds wrong, but enough of you are saying Keeler that I'm gonna say Keeler. And the funny thing is, there are some people who get names wrong all the time, really don't give a shit, and they're fine. No one seems to care, so I shouldn't care either. I just, sometimes have an attention to detail that isn't even really defendable. Oh, Colin. Okay, I'll call her Colin. Brianna Colin. I don't think it's Colin. Kalar. God damn it! You're all messing me up now. We're doing Keeler. That's it. And I may change halfway through because I forgot how to say it. So it may just be a variety of different pronunciations. All right, here we go. Despite the fact that there are real things that you can criticize President Joe Biden over, like his broken promise on cannabis decriminalization, no mention of a public option since becoming president, or he was obviously too kind to Mansion and Cinema after sinking his Build Back Better agenda, there are instead really stupid criticisms coming from at least 2 people at CNN over Biden's speech about rising fascism in America. So let's get to that, because this is, as I'm going to get to, showing how CNN is moving even further right. So near the end of this video, I will be discussing a little more on that and why, likely why that is happening. But first, let me start with just what sparked this criticism from CNN, or at least a particular CNN host. So here is Biden's speech. Here he is standing. And it's scary, satanic red, as the right has called out. But also, there are Marines in the background. Apparently, this is a big deal. So, Brianna Keeler, a host at CNN, and I think I'm pronouncing her last name right, but I may not be. I don't really care. Anyways, says, whatever you think of this speech, the military is supposed to be apolitical. Positioning Marines in uniform behind President Biden for a political speech flies in the face of that. It's wrong when Democrats do it. It's wrong when Republicans do it. Ah, yes. Joe Biden, who cares? He's talking about rising fascism and the actual threat to real democracy. No, what's really important, what we should be at least partially focusing on, are these 2 Marines in uniform in the background. I will get to, as I said, why CNN is being so insane, even more insane than usual. But this is what came out of this tweet from the night of the speech. The next morning, here's Brianna Keeler on CNN. Check out this chyron here. Biden faces criticism over Marines and backdrop of speech. Oh, faces criticism. I wonder where that came from. You. You're the critic. You're the one that brought it up. This is the shit that Fox News has done for ages. They create some ridiculous criticism out of nowhere and they say, oh, Obama's facing criticism over this, or Biden's facing criticism over this, when they're the ones that made it up. So Parker Malloy here on Twitter points us out saying, I think this is a perfect screenshot and it shows exactly what's wrong with the press right now. Breonna Keeler was one of the loudest voices creating this criticism, and now she's reporting that Biden faces criticism over Marines and backdrop of speech. You did that. Again, this is Fox News has done this shit for ages, and now CNN is beginning to do it as well. And worth pointing this out. So check out, this is a really quick clip, 11 seconds long. Here's a speech during Trump's presidency. Let's watch this together, okay?
Back if you want, don't come back. It's okay too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
Well, let's go to Boris Sanchez now. He is at the White House. Tell us.
Anything about the Marines in the background? We got some Marines here. Better call this out. I can guarantee you, I tried to find the full clip, I couldn't find it, but I can guarantee you that Breonna Keeler did not bring up the scary, or not scary, but the Marines in the background and how this should be apolitical. But here Trump is being political because they got Marines back there. Meanwhile, he's defending his racist attacks on the squad here in this video. Again, showcasing, and look, likely, I mean, maybe in another time he would have been criticized for this if this was a different president with a different speech. But because Trump has, you know, kind of set things to a different bar, a different level, the idea of criticizing anybody right now, any president, over optics, over aesthetics, is completely insane, at least until Trump actually faces some repercussions for his obvious and consistent illegality as president. So until something is done about what Trump did as president and continues to do, stealing top secret documents is like, you know, almost the bottom of the list in terms of what he's done. Until he's actually faces, any conviction or something for what he has done, the idea of criticizing any president over optics to me is completely insane. So, you know, just the idea here of focusing on whether it's the red background that the right is focused on or the Marines in the background, it shows you just how different things are depending on what party's in charge. Anyways, let's go on. So here's another example. This guy also from CNN, and again, I'll get to later on why CNN is being so crazy, but Jeff Zeleny here, his title is Chief National Affairs Correspondent, says there's nothing unusual or wrong with a president delivering a political speech. It's inherent to the job description. First of all, how does a president deliver an apolitical speech? Isn't anything the president says inherently political? But going on here, I mean, there's so much you can criticize with these morons. It's inherent to the job description, but doing it against a backdrop of two Marines standing at attention and the Marine Band is a break with White House traditions. I hope I saved this tweet. Someone pointed out this. It's so funny to me that this is what political reporters think their job is. To focus on, you know, White House norms over the staging of a speech, as opposed to maybe what is actually happening in the country with rising fascism. Or you want to focus on Biden, fine, criticize him over his broken promises. But to focus any attention at all over the backdrop of a speech as a political reporter, how do you not realize you are wasting people's time? Not to mention wasting resources, the endless resources that CNN has. But again, they wouldn't be hired and working in these jobs if they didn't want these people wasting time like this. and we will get to that shortly. But a response here from David Wiseman: I'm a veteran, and I consider President Biden's speech to be patriotic. Republicans declared war against us on January 6th, and they continue to attack what America stands for. They defend a criminal who's stolen classified documents. They act like America's enemy. So, yeah, of course, there's nothing wrong with, Marines standing in the background. No one cared. By the way, just to be clear here, I don't care about these Marines. I care about Trump defending his racist remarks. So whether it's Trump with Marines or Biden with Marines, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. What matters is what you are actually saying and what you actually do, and your impact on society with what you were doing or what you were saying. Now, let's get to what is happening at CNN here, right? So this is gives you a little indication. New CNN boss, Chris Licht, wants staff to stop calling Trump's election claims the big lie. So they've already eliminated the ability for their host to accurately describe Trump's false claim that he won the election. Another example here, Brian Stelter, who by no means is anywhere on the left, but was simply had a show where he, yes, at times correctly criticized how insane the right wing was. And apparently because of that, he got a show canceled. So Brian Stelter to depart CNN as it cancels reliable sources. And this most recent CNN reporter here, who actually did real work, John Harwood here, apparently, actually, before I get to him leaving, I already spoiled it. But here he is talking about Biden's speech. The core point Joe Biden made about a threat to democracy is true. As journalists, we're taught not to take sides in honest disagreements between parties. But these are not honest disagreements. The GOP right now is led by a dishonest demagogue. I gotta say, I'm actually surprised that a well-known journalist from a cable news station actually pointed this out, because this is the kind of garbage I've been calling out for years now. There is no both sides. There is objective reality. And who is or isn't acknowledging objective reality? If most of Republicans are not acknowledging the results of an election, they are objectively wrong. They are on the wrong side. Calling that out is not being, political or being biased against Republicans. It's calling out reality. So John Harwood simply pointing out here that right now the GOP is led by a dishonest demagogue. This is not an honest disagreement between parties. We're talking about fascists versus people that are not fascists. That's the discussion. So Harwood, of course, a solid report here. And now he's leaving CNN. So likely pushed out, likely fired, because he is actually good at his job. Personal news, today's my last day at CNN. Proud of the work, thanks to my colleagues. I've been lucky to serve the best in American media. So St. Petersburg Times, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, NBC, CNN. Look forward to figuring out what's next. So because he is figuring out what's next, I have to assume that he's been let go by CNN. Just nuts. And we're going to get to why. So John Malone controls CNN. He also donated to the Trump Save America PAC that was formed after the 2020 election, specifically to help Trump try to cling to power. When CNN says neutrality, they mean, quote, even more biased in favor of the right. CNN has always been center-right. And by the way, this line here blows the minds of the right wing, because they can't possibly fathom how CNN has been right-wing. They've been right-wing because they are pro-massive corporation. All of their reporting has always been pro-right-wing in favor of economic issues. Now, if you want to say they're left-wing because they may have acknowledged at one time or acknowledged that gay rights is good, then you're acknowledging that basic human rights is left, which at this point, I guess it is, but I would consider that to be just, I don't know, the center or common knowledge. But CNN has always been right-wing, and now they are moving more towards actually trying to, entice a more right-wing viewer base by being a lot kinder to the Trump MAGA morons, while criticizing Biden over, a couple Marines in the background, as if that matters at all. But on the point of John Malone here, so who is he? He is a conservative billionaire investor in the company who sits on its board. So more on that here. If you want to check out Vox, they go into John Malone. But just, it shows you that CNN hosts, people that work there now, are recognizing what is going to get them to keep their job. So I'm not sure if Breonna Keeler has any actual, real principles, positions. I know she has done some good work in the past. I think I've covered some of her good work in the past. But she clearly, I think, is recognizing what's happening now at CNN, that you have to be more right-wing to maintain your position there. And she finds a way to criticize Joe Biden while he is giving a speech about an actual threat to democracy. All right. 2 more stories. I got to say, the Oz one coming up, maybe my favorite story. Some chats here. Otacon says, glad to see you streaming live today. Keep it up. Hail Dark Brandon. Also, boneless wings are better than flats or drums. So I got to say something. I have to admit something that I don't want to admit, but I have to admit it now. I have started eating chicken again. So I've been basically off meat forever, but I always missed chicken. I've always liked chicken, and I'm back on chicken. I'm back on chicken. And now that I am, I have to say, you're wrong. Boneless wings are great. No issue with them, but I do prefer actual in-bone wings. I feel like they're just, maybe it's more of a mental thing than anything, but I do think they're just better. But I can see the argument for boneless wings. There's no bone in the way. It's usually all white meat. I get it, but I don't know. Christo says she just reported on her own story. What a clown. Exactly. Tatted Jedi says it's satanic. Sorry, this is going to be hard for me. It's satanic, Britannic, Icelandic, Charmander, Bulbasaur. You scared now? Marines standing guard with the president. So shocked. Like, hasn't every single president at some point had Marines or military members standing behind them? Like, I never would have thought that would be something to criticize. That would be like worthy of any criticism at all. Whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, it doesn't matter. It's so stupid to be focused on optics over what they're actually saying and what they're actually fighting for. The real Heisenberg, thank you for your, I was going to say a word that describes a certain drug, but I caught myself because YouTube sucks. I'm going to probably pull the video down if I said it. But thank you for your money. That is definitely not from the blue stuff that you've been cooking up. All right. Next story. Maybe the next story. I just got to prep it right now. It's prepped in front of me. Got to pull it up. Let's do this one. It's probably going to be a quicker one. There's no clips in this one. Jump to, man, these tabs are giving me problems. Too many tabs. Okay, come on. There you go. All right. And then we'll end on Oz and all your fun chats. How about that? Sounds good. Just want to make sure I got my stuff in order here. Okay. Republicans are considering suing the Biden administration to block student debt cancellation. effectively suing to put working class people into more debt. Because finally, there is a policy that is going to help people in the poor and middle class, and Republicans can't have that. So I'm going to get to, in this video, what they are planning. I'll get to the defense from the Biden administration, and also a critique of maybe how they should have been defending this as opposed to how they are defending it. But starting off here with what they're planning to do. So this headline from the Washington Post. Republicans are readying lawsuits to block Biden's student debt plan. GOP attorneys, top lawmakers, and conservative groups are discussing legal options, alleging the White House's move to cancel student debt is illegal. Any help at all for the poor and middle class, these people freak out. But when it's a $2 trillion tax cut for the wealthy and massive corporations, nobody seems to care. When it's really the vast majority of what the government does, benefiting massive corporations and the wealthy, nobody seems to care. But finally, a policy that actually helps some people, doesn't go as far as it could, but still helps actually a lot of people, they have a problem with it. So this, just to be clear here, the White House estimates 90% of the debt relief from their student loan debt plan would go to people making under $75,000 a year. Again, I've gone through all the details of the plan in past videos. It's means tested, which, you know, comes with other issues, more bureaucracy. You really should just cancel all of it. But if you're going to complain that this is somehow helping the wealthy, because we all know rich people take out big loans to go to school. That's what the right tries to claim. That's what critics of this try to claim, that this is somehow a giveaway to the rich, which is all they actually do. But here, this policy actually helping people in the poor and middle class, and they have to construe to try and make a criticism that's going to rile up their base, which unfortunately largely uneducated and unaware of who this actually helps. But going on to what they're planning here. So in recent days, a number of GOP attorneys general from states, including Arizona, Missouri, and Texas, have met privately to discuss a strategy that could see multiple cases filed in different courts around the country, according to a person familiar with their thinking who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe the confidential talks. Quote, "We're going through that analysis right now, not only in Arizona, but other states," Attorney General Mark Brunovich said later Thursday. "You have a dangerous precedent. Anytime any president thinks they can unilaterally dismiss debt or transfer wealth from one group to another group, it's a huge power grab. The ends can't justify the means." For 40 years now, at least 40 years, you've had a transfer of wealth from the poor and middle class to the wealthy. Take a look at any chart over the inability or the ceiling that wage increases have hit, while these people have continued to work at similar levels that they've always worked. So productivity still rising at normal rates. Meanwhile, their wages staggering off. And it's been a consistent move of moving their wealth, their cash, to the top 1%. And nobody seems to care. But as I said, you finally have a policy that helps people and they freak out. And to show you how popular this is, a majority of voters support canceling all or some student loan debt for every borrower. So 60% of people here support at least some student debt cancellation, including, by the way, big numbers for Republicans at about 45% that you would think, would hate any attempt to help people. But no, even 45% of Republicans support canceling at least some student debt. And even people that never borrowed before, even they support canceling at least some student debt. So people understanding here, apart from, even if you are not touched by this, you understand, at least some people here, a lot of people appear to understand, that if the poor middle class are helped by, alleviating some of this burden on them, they are able to then maybe put more money back into the economy, maybe help them start a life, buy a house, have a family. Things that are, the one barrier to millennials starting a family and a life is their financial situation. You see all these articles about why aren't millennials, buying a house and getting married and having kids, because they can't afford to. So, 10 grand, again, not enough. But for those that have that debt, it at least is a little bit of help for them, for people that have been largely stomped on their entire lives. Now, more polling on this. So this from Emerson College. This is after the announcement of the debt cancellation. Do you think that forgiving $10,000 of student loan debt for borrowers making under $125K per year is too much, not enough, or just about the right amount of action? So 36% say too much, but 30% say not enough, and 35% say just right. So 65% of people think it's good or they want more, meaning they are in support of this. That is a massive percentage of people, a large majority, 65% in support of debt cancellation. And another poll here showing that, I believe this is from CBS. I covered this in a previous video, but you have here a massive increase in Biden's approval rating for those under 30, from 49 to 59 in just a month's time. And this was taken after the debt cancellation. So this is a massive boon to Biden's presidency, and we will see potentially the midterms as well. Now, in terms of how Biden, the administration, is defending their debt cancellation against these threats of getting sued, the administration has been adamant that its policy is legal. The Justice Department released a 25-page memo last week justifying debt cancellation as appropriate under a 2003 law, giving the executive branch broad authority to overhaul student loan programs. That law was passed in the aftermath of September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks, and gave the president and the authority to cancel student debt in connection with national emergencies, which the White House says includes the ongoing pandemic. So that is how they are saying that they have the grounds to do this. But there's actually, from reporting here, a better way they could be defending this. And this is in Sugarman's view. So he is I believe a professor, a law school professor. So in his view, it would have been better to invoke the Higher Education Act of 1965, which also grants sweeping authority over student loans to the Department of Education. Quote, there is a very broad, non-emergency based provision that allows the Department of Education to waive debt, he said. It's puzzling why the Biden administration wanted to invoke COVID as a stretch of the 9/11 Act when they had an actual basis from the Higher Education Act. My guess is because they don't want to be called on to do any more. That's my guess, is they want this to be like the only debt cancellation they do for student loans, or generally debt cancellation. So I think that's why they are attaching it to COVID as opposed to attaching it to, the Higher Education Act, which would allow them to continue canceling debt if they had the pressure put on them going forward. And likely, in a different world where there's President Bernie Sanders, he likely would have used this to cancel all student debt, is my guess. But we're going to see where these lawsuits go. I will say, I don't think it's going to help Republicans. If they actually do go through with any lawsuits trying to block student debt cancellation, it's going to hurt them just like the overturning of Roe hurt them. So, I hope they don't go through with it because of the potential threat of it actually being overturned or blocked, but they're going to get bit in the ass if they go through with it. So we will see where the story goes. All right. One more. What time is it? Good. I'm making good time. One more story, and then we will do all the super chats. Jonathan Leader, or Leiter, whatever your last name is, Jonathan, says a farm-raised free-range chicken tastes good. Roast a whole bird in a skillet with potato and carrots this weekend. Throw some rosemary in there and put a lemon in the cavity. Hope this covers it. I trust you. I believe you, but I also prefer to trust someone else to cook my chicken. Preferably fried and as unhealthy as possible. So chicken wings, or I don't know, maybe some fried chicken. I like fried chicken. What can I say? and kind of quoting a meme there, if anyone's seen that video. That kid talking about how he loves fried chicken. But man, I love fried chicken. Can't help it. All right. That said, look, I have to say, if you don't eat meat, as I didn't for a long time, and I don't eat beef, pork, or anything else except for chicken and fish. There are still solid vegan chicken alternatives out there. I've had them. They are good. They are not chicken, but they are still very good. Definitely worth checking out. You know, like KFC has one now. It's a fake chicken burger. I'm sure other places have one, so check it out. All right. I got an odd story. Because what would a week be without a story about Dr. Oz and John Fetterman? It wouldn't be a week. So this is how we complete our week. I have no intro for this, so I'm going to have to intro this on the fly. All right, whatever. I'll figure it out. In his race against John Fetterman for Senate in Pennsylvania, Dr. Oz has stooped to a new low. So in this video, I have a couple of main examples of how he has stooped to a new low. And you're not going to believe it. You will believe it, but you're not going to believe it. And I am laughing already because of how completely insane, especially this first example is. So, without further ado, let me play for you this recent campaign ad from Dr. Oz.
John Fetterman wants to release convicted murderers from prison. He appointed a staffer who wants to eliminate mandatory life sentences for first and second degree murderers. Murderers like Daquan Dickerson, who shot and killed a high school senior from York. Daniel Barrett, who viciously stabbed his wife to death with a steel fire poker. Craig Hines, who killed a young man in a drive-by shooting. We all know Fetterman loves free stuff, but we can't let him free murderers.
Okay. John Fetterman wants to free murderers. We all know he loves free stuff, but did you know he also wants to free murderers? This is where you go when you have nothing left. Like when you've tried everything, you've already fear-mongered about how he's Bernie Sanders, which actually we'll get to more on that because Oz keeps doing that. Bernie Sanders, voted the most popular senator 11 terms in a row. Yet still, he's trying to fearmonger Fetterman by attaching him to Bernie Sanders. You've already talked about how Fetterman he hasn't worked with his hands. He doesn't know how to help people. We'll get to more on that later. But Oz has tried everything. He really has. You know, he's tried the vegetables, the crudité. That didn't work. Nothing's working for Oz, so he has to go to Fetterman loves murderers. You can't get more insane than this. So I'll get to the other example of how he stooped to a new low, but more on the murderers. So, PolitiFact here, correcting this bullshit, saying Fetterman has not called for eliminating life sentences for murderers. Fetterman advocates eliminating the Pennsylvania law mandating life without parole sentences in second-degree or so-called felony murder cases in which the defendant is an accessory to a murder. In those cases, a person killed during the commission of a felony, such as a robbery, but the defendant is not directly responsible for the killing. And I will get to why Fetterman has done this by first using this example. So Oz has attacked Fetterman now. There's actually, I guess, several ways now Dr. Oz has stooped to a new low. This is another one. Attacked Fetterman for having 2 convicted murderers on his staff, calling for him to fire them. They are Lee and Dennis Horton, brothers whose convictions were widely criticized and who ultimately were granted clemency by the Board of Pardons 5-0. So these people, Lee and Dennis Horton, are innocent. Innocent. And Dr. Oz puts out a directive calling on Fetterman to try or to fire these so-called murderers when they have been cleared and are not. So Fetterman responded to this, saying going after 2 campaign staffers is a new low for Dr. Oz. Fetterman said in response, in a statement, he described the Hortons as wrongfully convicted and said that fighting for their release was one of the proudest moments of my career, and I'm honored to have them on this team. The statement noted that the Hortons' release was supported at the time by a top official in the state corrections system. Quote, they just don't belong in prison, Mark Wall, a deputy superintendent at the Department of Corrections, said in a letter, citing their work behind bars to further the rehabilitation of other detained men. Quote, does Dr. Oz believe that the wrongfully convicted should die in prison? Fetterman continued. Does this man have any compassion? He's making a predictable and fear-mongering attack against 2 men who spent 27 years in prison for a crime they didn't commit. I don't think you can stoop lower than this. I really don't. Like, the next thing I'm going to show you is as bad as well, but this is the lowest you can possibly go. Calling to keep innocent people in prison. Calling to fire innocent people from your staff. People that were wrongfully convicted, already spent 27 years in prison, already went through hell. And you're telling Fetterman to fire these people? What a piece of garbage. A complete piece of garbage. And on that note, how much of a piece of garbage Oz is. Mehmet Oz in May Audio. Abortion is murder at any stage of pregnancy. So going to how, Oz really hates murderers. I guess all those women that had abortions, he wants them in jail too. Here's another new low for Oz. Oz campaigned on John Fetterman. If he had ever eaten a vegetable in his life, he wouldn't have had a stroke. Let me get to Fetterman's reaction to this.
How many of you, maybe yourself, have had a big health challenge in your own life? Yeah, any of your parents? Any of your children, maybe? Can you even imagine that if you had a doctor that was mocking your illness? Or ridiculing that? Well, here we are. Here we are right now. I would like to think that Dr. Oz may have really lost his way if you're going to make fun of somebody that had a stroke. But I don't think he ever had his way, because this is a guy that made a career of selling miracle diet pills.
Yeah, so, I mean, there is so much to go on. Dr. Oz, of course, well known for trying to sell diet pills, that miracle diet pills on his Dr. Oz show. And then later went on to admit, yeah, they were not miracle diet pills. Just knowingly spread garbage because he was paid to do so. Continues running in this race the way he's running because he's being paid to do so. Massive corporations and the wealthy, of course, back Dr. Oz. Meanwhile, Fetterman not taking any corporate money at all. More on from Fetterman here. So this is a Fetterman campaign ad, at least a social media ad. Let me show you this one.
I challenge my opponent. What have you done, rolling your sleeves up in your own life to make life better for the people of Pennsylvania?
I first met John Fetterman when my son got into trouble. John took him under his wing. He helped him get his GED. John turned Braddock around, and John's turned my son's life around.
He was a one-man workforce for the city of Braddock.
When there was a fire, a shooting, an accident, John was there to help.
If someone needed clothes or food, whatever people needed.
John worked with the police and got them funding.
John stopped gun deaths for 5 years.
Made government actually work for people.
John Fetterman has spent his life trying to help people.
More jobs, fought crime, actual results for people.
John Fetterman helped change my life. He changed Harrisburg, and now he's going to change Washington.
Show me what you've done, not what you say. And John Fetterman has done it.
All right, so while Dr. Oz busy in his 10 homes, busy not living in Pennsylvania most of his life, busy voting in Turkey, busy selling diet pills on television, busy making millions, being a garbage human being, criticizing John Fetterman over not doing anything. Yet those who know John Fetterman, those that he's been touched by, those that have worked with him, know what kind of person he is. And Oz, we know what kind of person he is, based on how he's been campaigning, based on just the endless lies. Last example here of how ridiculous Dr. Oz is. He keeps doing this. This is, I've mentioned this several times now in videos because of how insane it is. John Fetterman agrees with Bernie Sanders on virtually every issue. He would be Bernie 2.0, and his past actions prove just that. Yeah, I think I replied down here. Here we go. Bernie Sanders, most popular senator. The number is highest level recorded among any sitting senator, highest ever recorded, and places him in the top slot for the 11th poll in a row, according to Morning Consult's pollsters. Just 28% of Vermont voters disapproved of the job the senator is doing, according to the poll. I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb, a dumb campaign move to attach your opponent to the guy that's been voted 11 times in a row as the most popular senator and had the highest favorability number ever. But that's just me. Maybe crudité, maybe Bernie Sanders, maybe a Hollywood star, maybe 10 homes. Maybe that's the way to voters' hearts. But I tend to think that people are relating more to John Fetterman, who actually has a history of fighting for people, actually has a solid platform, and actually knows how to connect with the real issues that people face. All right. What a piece of garbage Dr. Oz is. Jesus. All right. RN says, have you ever tried the fruit amla? Very healthy. I don't think so. I don't think so. It looks like a skinless grape with a pit. I have not had this. I gotta say, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. There are many fruits that I feel like I probably have not had. Let's bring this one up. Check out this fruit. Look at that thing. It's exactly how I described. A skinless grape with a pit. Haven't had it. Looks good though. All right. So I gotta go soon. But let me grab, if any more super chats come in, I'll grab them. In the meantime, I'll grab some randos. Let me grab some randos here. Oh, Oliver can't. I want to. I should have. Will you be covering Bernie's speech at the RMT in the UK? I just didn't have time to go through it today. Maybe this weekend? Maybe. I was hoping to take the weekend off, but I did want to watch that speech. So I'm actually going to make a note of that, because that would have been like the next story I would have done if I had the time to prep it. Making notes on the fly. Making notes on the fly. Yeah, I saw that picture of Bernie and Mick Lynch hugging. It's like, damn, I gotta cover this. And then I forgot about it. But I once I watch it, I'm sure I'll cover it. What else? I wish Matt Oz would make ads for Herschel Walker. I actually haven't seen any of Herschel Walker's ads. Are they as bad as he is as a candidate? I bet you they are. Maybe we can find one right now. I would be surprised if his ads were as bad as Oz. I'm not really seeing ads here. I saw there's an ad from 4 months ago. It's likely for the primary. I don't know. I'm not seeing much. Is it safe to say Fetterman has this in the bag? No, it is not safe to say that. if you're in Pennsylvania, it's not safe to say that. Make sure you do the work necessary. No, Mitch McConnell, recently put a bunch of money into the race after the GOP stopped putting money in. So or not stop, but they cut the senatorial committee, the GOP senatorial committee. They cut ad money to Oz's race, but then Mitch McConnell put like $34 million in. So there's still money going into the race. They're still trying to win that race, and they totally can with enough money. So be aware of that, especially if they take this pure fear mongering route, which it appears they are doing. I mean, that's usually what they do, but this is like, Fetterman loves murderers is is maybe like the boss level version of that. That's going to work on some people because people are motivated by fear. So, you have to work to push back against that garbage. LMFAO at people who think Biden sounds incoherent that also support Walker. Also on top of that, Biden, while he at times has issues speaking, stuttering and that kind of thing, he's definitely more coherent. It's not like he just completely, though he in certain speeches, like about corn pop, he has rambled on incoherently and doesn't make any sense. But as president, he hasn't given, responses the way Walker has about climate change, where they just don't think it's real. Like Herschel Walker has said some really dumb shit about evolution, about climate change. Like Biden, at least, is a little more attached to reality in that sense. So for me, it's even less about how they speak or the how they may sound, as opposed to what's actually important is what are they saying? What are they trying to say? What issues do they represent? And are they attached to reality or not? Hey, Rofina, glad you could catch a stream. All right. End on some gaming chat. I have like 4 RPGs going at once. It's a problem. I need to decide what I'm doing. I'm playing, I need your help actually. I'm playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, but I'm stuck at a part. The game gets randomly tough for no reason. It's like super easy, and then you get to like a part of the game which is ridiculous. So that's on pause for now. I started Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like 10 minutes, just like literally 10 minutes, just like the beginning story. Wasn't really feeling the voice acting. I gotta say, wasn't really feeling the presentation. I know that's a bad excuse, but I'm sure I'll get back to it. But I just, it didn't catch me immediately, so I took a second away from that. Checked out Soul Hackers 2 since there's a trial for it, 2-hour trial. I actually really enjoyed that. But I can see it getting old quick. And what else am I playing? I don't know. I'm all over the place. I got like a ton in my backlog that I want to get to. I have not played Sekiro, but I want to, even though I don't like getting my ass kicked and dying every 2 seconds, so maybe I wouldn't like it. I keep hearing how good Xenoblade is. So, does the fighting system get better? I'm just not a huge fan of like sitting there as my person auto attacks. It feels weird to me. I rather have either some kind of turn-based system or an actual like action RPG where I'm in control of the character. Not a huge fan of just like sitting back and hitting commands. But again, I'm sure it would grow on me. You want to see a gaming stream? Make sure you are subscribed on Twitch. Link below the video in the description box, twitch.tv/therationalnational. That's where I would do it. Have you played Cult of the Lamb? I have not. I want to. You growing a full beard? I just haven't trimmed my beard this week. Maybe. No, beards get annoying. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. There's a trick to level up in the Yakuza in the sewers. Okay, maybe I gotta do that. So initially when I was stuck, I went to the sewers and I kept dying there. So I figured I'm not leveled up enough to do that. So I leveled up like around the city, and then I got back to that story mission I was supposed to do, and I finally beat it. But now I'm at another point where I keep freaking dying. And like, I died once and it wasn't even close. So I figured there's no way I'm beating this area. So maybe I'll just go back to the sewers and level up there. Grinding is so stupid. Can we eliminate all grinding from games? It's dumb. It feels like it's padding out the game for no reason at all. If I just properly leveled up during your story missions and side quests, I wouldn't need to, do some extra bullshit where I'm building my character. It's kind of dumb. I played through Tales of Arise, got to the final boss, can't beat it, and I'm not gonna. I had my fill. Like the game was great, but once I was at the end, there was no way I was gonna go back and have to grind more to beat the final boss. So I have not beat the final boss, but I'm at the final boss. Favorite color? It changes. Sometimes it's green, sometimes it's blue. Sometimes it's purple, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's pink, sometimes it's white, sometimes it's black. I'm all over the place. Have you attempted the tower in Yakuza? I don't think I've gotten there. Generally, I wish RPGs were shorter experiences. They really don't need to be, 40 to 100 hours. Like, give me a solid 20-hour experience, and I'm much happier. Because usually by that time, I'm already sick of the game. I've had my fill, and I want to move on. So, like, games that, like, I just beat Astral Chain, which is not a RPG. Maybe it's kind of a quasi-RPG, like action RPG, but it's like 20 hours long. And I was ready to be done. Like, I was at 20 hours, that game needed to end, and I'm glad it did. There's just very few games that are able to last. Especially with like so much out and a lot of free content through these subscription models. There's just like so much to try and check out that it's really hard to stay focused on a single product. Have you tried Pong? I have. I'm okay at Pong. I'm okay. Andrew Wan likes Still Hackers too. I have enjoyed the first 2 hours. I like the aesthetic a lot. I'm really digging the presentation. The story seems interesting. The characters are good. I like the voice acting. A lot of the reviews, though, seem to indicate that the dungeons are kind of flat and boring. And I can kind of see that, but I don't know. I feel like I probably would like it if I kept going. Time is it? Okay, I gotta go soon. Just finished. Triangle Strategy is my game of the year, Oliver. Out of all the games I played this year, new games I played this year, Triangle Strategy is my game of the year. I feel like it's super underrated. It's like completely forgot about. It came out and it wasn't talked about again. But I'm telling you, Triangle Strategy on Nintendo Switch, check it out. Very, very good. Very good. In fact, I don't think I have one criticism of that game. I think it's immaculate. It's a perfect game. Yeah, Xenoblade seems really long. Chris says you're going to have a bad time with Xenoblade. 40 to 70 hours main quest. Look, if it keeps... Persona 5 kept my interest for 105 hours. The only single-player game that managed to keep my interest for 100 hours plus. But even near the end of that game, I was just like, please end. I just want to see how this story ends. Like, that last... Was it the last dungeon? Like, the last, like, I don't know, 10 hours of that game, it just went on forever and ever and ever. And I was just like, this is nice, but time to finish now. So even in games that I really enjoy and finish, man, it's hard to justify that amount of time. Triangle Strategy was about 50 hours, I got to say. And it worked. It was a long game that worked. Your thoughts on Jim Ryan raising the price of PS5 to $800? Is it $800? I know they raised it $20 in Canada, both the digital and the disc version. I think it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's likely going to hurt them. They've raised it everywhere except the US, but the US has like a Horizon bundle that effectively has raised the price of the console. So I don't know. I just think it's stupid. It's an obvious attempt for them to try and make money off the sale of these consoles because they have been it's been getting cheaper to make them. They have been getting lighter and lighter. There's a third version now that's even lighter than the second version. So they're stripping like components out of it that's making it lighter, or at least like cutting down on the heatsink in other areas. That's saving the money. So they're saving money from that end. The components are getting cheaper to make, and they're also raising the price. 2 years into the life cycle. It's ridiculous. You have ADHD. I also have a lot of unfinished games. I probably, if I do, it's undiagnosed. That's from General Martok. So if I have it, you know, though I don't think I probably just have it as it relates to JRPGs, because I don't think I really have it in any other aspect of my life. So side quests in Xenoblade 3 are probably the best in the series. Okay. I'm just the voice acting. Does it get better? Like I'm not feeling like these forced British voices. It's just, come on. Just don't. I don't know. Maybe it has to grow on me. Like I played through the Diofield Chronicle demo, which was really good. I may have picked that one up. And it was great, but the voice, it feels like everyone's trying to do Game of Thrones. Like it's just like I enjoy Game of Thrones, but not every single fantasy story has to have British voice actors. Like it's too much. Like mix it up a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know what it is with people, with these developers and this attachment to British voice actors. No offense to you Brits out there. It's fine. But I like a little variety in my voice acting. Disco Elysium, I gotta play through it. I just gotta sit down and play through it. My issue is when I first tried that game, I was not sober. So I feel like it wasn't the best first impression because I really could not focus on what was happening. But I do want to get back to it and play through it. Nier Automata, I do want to play that as well. I hear really good things. There's too many games, guys. We got to stop. We got to stop releasing games until we figure out what's going on, okay? Just stop all the game releases. Let us catch up with what exists. A lot of things have gone unplayed that need to be played. Let's catch up, and then maybe in a year or two, we can allow new games to be released. But it's too much right now. Got to put the brakes on this. Like, if you compare games to movies or TV shows, I feel like it's night and day. Because game experiences are super long, and there's a lot of good ones. Meanwhile, there's like a handful of good movies a year. TV shows, I guess you could argue, they're much longer, but there's, again, not every TV show is a must-see. Like Better Call Saul, I would say, is a must-see. What else this year was a must-see? Oh, that Apple show. The show on Apple. With the head cut off in the picture. What's the name of that show? But that was a really good series. I will find it, and I will say it. If someone doesn't already get it. Because I know you know what I'm talking about. I know you all know it. Severance, there you go. Peggy 18. Peggy 18, which is a European rating for a video game. But there we go. Severance, great show. Great show. So Severance, Better Call Saul. House of Dragon. I'm enjoying The Boys. Sorry. Boys is fantastic. Boys is really good. That, House of Dragon. That's all you need. Severance, Better Call Saul, The Boys, House of Dragon. You're good. You're good. That's it. Nothing else came out that's worth watching. I'm sure I watched other stuff, but I forget. But I don't know. And then you have like 1,000 JRPGs that are like 200 hours long, and it's not possible. My brain can't process all the gaming involved. All the gaming needed to finish those games. I fell off Stranger Things after season 2. I was just like, I don't know. Wasn't super feeling it. All right. I probably have to go now. So thank you all for showing up again. Make sure you all have your AMLA. Eat your AMLA. And have a good night. All right. See you all. Oh, it's Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend. Meaning I will hopefully have more free time than usual. All right. See you all later. Goodbye. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.